And last but not least, here is the Mary episode. Again, this was supposed to be before the Kano episode, but technical difficulties led us to uploading this episode afterwards. Regardless if there's some weird sort of continuity, it's probably a result of that. Again, thank you very much for your patience, and here we go. Welcome to Mekakushi Rewind. I'm Dani, and just a few announcements. I recently prepped. I tried to go all out and prepare a podcast subreddit, except I'm so new to Reddit, I don't even know how subreddits work, but I'm working on it. I'm making it happen. It's happening.
You can do
and
it.
Thanks. I try so hard. And then not only is the podcast somewhat of a thing, but wow, you ever just lose your train of thought? Because that's me right now. Not only that, but I encourage listeners to share any juicy stories, any tales of woe, literally anything that they've experienced that would be interesting to talk about in Kagerou Project, and email it to mekakushirewind@gmail.com to be featured in our listener episode that's going to be coming up. I'll select one of my a favorite guest star, or just whoever's available at the time, Lamau, and then we read listener stories and out loud and laugh, and I don't have to put as much work into it, and whoa, it's pretty great.
What a cool time.
I know, right? But enough about me, enough about the podcast. We're here with Kono Mary advocate Kitsu, and we're here to talk about everyone's favorite, Mary Kozakura. Is that how it's pronounced? Kozakura?
I have no idea.
That's close enough. Anyhow, you said that you had a lengthy 3-hour conversation about Mary earlier?
Yeah. Whenever I get into characters, I always kind of worry about, well, what if I'm missing the smallest detail that could have to do with something in the bigger picture. So at least I have Kita to ground me, and we have back and forths about characters. It's the same with him and Saeru, which I'm still convincing him to get on that podcast. But
please, I'm begging, please.
Listen, if he doesn't get himself a mic, I'll buy him one, I promise.
Thank God. I owe you my life, and a good episode. I was really hoping to invite him for a Kokonose episode, so we'll see. We'll make it happen.
Hopefully.
Please. You're so insightful and wise. Please.
Nobody has ever heard his voice. It would be his debut.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Alright. I'd be so honored. Please, think about it. For me. If not for me, then for Kitsu. And if not for Kitsu, for me.
Exactly.
Well, would you like to tell us how you started with your interest in Kagerou Project? I know you mentioned it in my server, but for everyone else. Ooh.
Okay, so my interest in Kagerou Project, I guess my first introduction to it was back when I was a lot younger and just kind of getting used to the internet, and I just remember I saw Kuraha or Saeru, and I thought, wow, he's a pretty cool anime boy aesthetic. And for years, I never, tried to see where he came from. I was just, okay, yeah, he's cool. And if anybody's like, what's your favorite kind of character design? I would show them Kuraha, and I'd be like, yeah, I like that aesthetic. Yellow and black, that's cool. Well,
oof.
Years later, which, just a couple months, half a year now, I was going through Crunchyroll because my boyfriend decided to give me his account because I was bored and I usually don't watch anime, and I found the anime. So I grabbed Akita and I'm like, hey, let's watch this. And I didn't know that that's where Saeru was from, so I was completely taken by surprise by that. So I was introduced to it through the anime. And from the anime, I found out, oh, there's a manga series, there's a novel series, there's the talkers. And because we got an interest in certain characters, him with Saeru and me with Mary, we kind of just took a complete deep dive.
That's so fair. Hyperfixation gang. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right, I've seen how deep you've gotten into, say, Mary's character, her lore, her experiences. Your take on her, I find, is very fascinating, refreshing even.
Aww,
it's nice to see her portrayed as something other than just, oh, whoa,
kawaii desu,
little Mary.
girl. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. I am afraid to ask how much time you think you've put into developing her as more than just a fluffy character. I've been there, and then Jin did the job, and then now I don't have to do it anymore. Ayana's already edgy. It's canon. I can't believe it.
It was more time than I could probably count, and more money than I can probably count, because I own the entire novel series and the entire manga series that's out right now.
Bro!
And I literally
I'm so proud.
pre-ordered the novel and the manga, and the novel is the 8th one is going to be here in 4 days.
Oh my god. I really want to read the novels. I only have, one, because I actually got to run into it in the store. I hardly see the novels anywhere. I'm so sad.
Oh, I just get them off of Amazon. It's just the easiest way to do things, personally.
You're such a trooper. I hope I'll get to that level of being a cool, rad fan. But for now, I kind of just run a podcast for it with, half-assed knowledge and talking to people with whole-ass knowledge. So together we'll have, 1.5 ass knowledge? We'll see.
I asked how you get 1.5 an ass, but...
3 cheeks.
3 cheeks.
3.
Exactly. They're so thankful.
They really are. I like to imagine that people who listen to my podcast is think of a concert, but instead of a crowd, there's 2 people. And both of them are there out of obligation because they know me personally. So... I just throw stuff out there, and they're like, yeah. And then I spend money trying to keep this podcast up. So, it's there's a profit. The profit being that...
the love and adoration of your fans. That's a profit?
Yeah! Sure!
Listen,
but,
I adore it, and me and Kita follow it. I can promise you that much.
Thank you. You're the 2 people I mentioned that are... I can't believe. But right, we are here for the Mary episode. I put 4 spellings for the title because it's... How do you spell Mary?
I spell it with the 2 R's, but my personal preference to read it is Mari. I just think that it looks prettier.
Nice. It does. It's cute. And it's kind of... I don't know, when I see, Mari, I think of, my Japanese piano teacher, Miss Mari.
Oh, that's cute.
She's a cutie. And, Mary's a cutie. So it just registers in my head. I'm like, yeah.
Mary's an absolute cutie.
She is! Okay, I have to ask you. Is Mary's hair full of tangles, or is it just perfectly fine as it is?
I want to say, unless someone's brushing it for her, it's probably full of tangles. That's a lot of hair. It might look cute in the anime and the pictures, but realistically, there's gotta be quite a few tangles. I have short hair, and I wake up every morning, and my hair is a mess to brush.
Oh my god. But, isn't her hair also kind of, snaky?
Yeah, and I've seen in a lot of different canons it moves depending on her emotions, so... But it seems to be only the bangs that do it, the bangs that come down.
Ah.
So, it's odd in that regard.
So is that why, whenever we see, a haircut, her bangs are usually intact, you know what I mean? Because I feel like that'd be really painful to cut off if those are the only 2 snakes. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because I'm if her hair's tangled, does that mean her snakes are tangled? Does that mean her snakes are just, coiled out? I don't know. So... I think I have more insight now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But let's see how deep into the Mary lore are you. What is Mary's favorite fairy tale?
Favorite fairy tale? That's a good question. Well, personally, I think maybe... See, now I'm trying to dig into my fairy tale knowledge.
Ooh, the lore.
I think that when it comes to older fairy tales, she might like things, the generic prince and princess, like, maybe
right.
Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty. But if she was introduced to more modern day fairy tales, she'd like things like Tangled, because one of the things that really stuck out to me about Mary's character is in one of the novels, they talk about in one of the passages and at the end of the book, there's something called Mary's Secret Sketchbook or Mary's Secret Drawings, and she portrays Sion as a princess and Mary herself as a hero slaying a dragon. So,
really?
Yeah, I think that Mary, her ideal was the princess role, but as a child growing up, she wanted to be a hero, and I found that really cute.
Just like I don't know. Oh, I'm crying. They could have been so good, such a good of a hero duty. My grammar is off the charts right now. I'm so sorry. But that's cute. I had no idea. I always assumed Mary just fit the princess role so well. But her as a hero, that's cute. That's some good shit.
It's absolutely adorable, and I could really get into the meta of how it kind of shows her character growth too, because in the beginning she was the damsel who just sat there and cried as everything went to shit, and now in the more recent things, she's trying to be the hero, waging war, and actually fighting back.
They've really gone so far. I really it's just good. Mary, until recently, I've always seen her as, again, the damsel in distress, but, seeing how, instead of her, I guess, breaking down in tears, as we see almost in every route, whatever, in the edgiest song of Kagerou Project, the one. Hell yeah. For some reason, the name just eluded my brain. We get to see her, take a stand. I'm really hoping Imaginary Reload has, a PV. I'm praying.
Same. I really want
to see. Please. I want to see Mary being cool! Please! And also, Remind Blue, because everyone's who the fuck is the song about? What the fuck? Everyone's oh my goodness, it's Shintaro? No, it's everyone? No? Okay. It was Shintaro, now it's everyone? Oh, alright. Seto, please. The people are crying. We need sustenance. We're starving.
Please, feed us.
True. Yeah, we're just the needy Western fandom. It really be like that. But yeah, I would get into the meta and potentially talking about Ayano and Mary's dynamic. I'm sorry, that's all I can bring to the table. Ayano's all I have.
It's okay, I love your daughter.
Thank you. But, shall we look into the questions?
I'd love to.
Cool. I mean, I just see Show's first question. What's the best way to spell her translated name? Fight. But we kind of already covered that. So, their real question, what are your feelings on Imaginary Reload and what it does for Mary's character development? She's grown a lot since the start of the series, both in terms of reveals about herself and her powers, parentheses. Lamau, remember when we didn't know combining eyes existed and thought her eye power was just locking? How do you feel about the direction Mary's character went in / is heading?
Okay, I personally really, really am a fan of it. When the Imaginary Reload song came out, me, Keita, and a couple other friends were absolutely looking out over it, more so when you actually got the translations and learned that it was about Mary and how her dynamic changed. And this new layer of Mary's character and seeing firsthand just how much all these timelines had affected her in the end was really nice to see. It should have been a no-brainer given, Shintaro's development, but it was still nice to read something bluntly canon than to have to theorize and just have to settle with trying to personally get into a character's mind and understand.
Mood!
This is it was way better than just leaving her unaffected, naive, and as outwardly innocent seeming as she's always been, in the beginning. I even have to give, like, props to the Talkers episodes for showing her bratty, spoiled side. Like, I love that a lot. And kind of getting into the roots of her personality being more than just a cute, clumsy girl who just so happens to be the story's MacGuffin. Like,
yeah.
She went from this pure baby, crying damsel stuck in a loop of positive or good things happening in her life, like meeting Seto and being integrated into his family, to tragically completely wrecking it as, like, you know, in Outer Science, Imagination Forest. It took leaps and bounds for Mary to have grown into the woman we see in Imaginary Reload, and even then it's still completely believable and commendable character growth. Like, she's now someone who's strong in her resolve and finally came to terms with reality. Her answer is to wage war and not go down without a fight, rather than to sit there and woe is me, damsel, while the people she cares for are harmed. She's changed, and she's finally grown up, and is off the wall of the thing that, like, as I was saying before, about how, as a child, she believed, you know, I'm going to be a hero, and then she undid everything, and she fell into a damsel role. Well, she's finally full circle back to that I want to be a hero.
And that's growth.
That's growth, and I love it.
I do have to ask, though, seeing that, does she remember previous timelines? She doesn't she?
I don't think that she does, but the thing is, in some ways it's implied that she does. Like, there are certain cues, like, in the anime, you can just see her, like, for example, when they're explaining village to Momo, she'll, like, look up from a book, and she'll, like, give a certain look, or, like, in the novels, she'll say certain things, or, like, the end of the novel, like, the final novel I haven't been spoiled for, it's weird. It's like some timelines she remembers, and some timelines she doesn't, and that makes no sense. Like, I don't know if that's a plot hole or an inconsistency, or if there's a reason for it, and there's just a lot more of a facade going on with her, but there's something weird when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think Jin really worked on that or put much thought into it. Again, like, another just a plot hole that just happens. Because, like, in order for Mary to grow, she needs to remember. But if she remembers, there's no point to Shintaro. And then there's that whole, like, but how much does she remember? And then, like, how much does she, like, subconsciously know? As opposed to, like, Jin, what are you doing?
Like, the best explanation I could give to it is the way that some things that I've always thought, or they had to be explained, was because she does have combining eyes. I don't know if, like, she has, like, this faint, small portion of a main ability, like, she can't access the full ability without the snake, so the kid being dead, but if there's, like, any kind of, like, small part of an ability, in this case, for retaining eyes, would be subconsciously remembering things, or subconsciously deja vu kind of situations.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. I do have to ask, like, what exactly is Mary's powers?
Well, that's something that I'm still not sure about. Like, locking eyes is a given, and locking eyes is a weird one, too, because I'm pretty sure it was stated somewhere she doesn't physically have locking eyes, like that Seto Vaizami, but the bloodline, and I find that weird. But, meanwhile, when it comes to combining eyes, that's what I don't really understand, because in the manga, of course, it could be because of fan translation getting things wrong, but, in the most recent manga that came out, I know that Saeru basically implies, or at least he refers to Mary and Queen Mary as if they were two different things, or like, oh yes, you have the snake because you wouldn't react to me like this, or you wouldn't command me like this, as if the snake has a personality. But Saeru's the only one who's been shown to have a personality. I don't know what's going on there, but if it is a matter of it's just Mary and combining has no personality, intelligence, or ego, as Saeru calls it, I guess it's just a matter of, like, she can absorb, or, as we refer to it, devour the snakes, gain their powers, and use them. Otherwise, the only assumption I can come to is that she has, like, a small portion of their power that she can use out the gate, but it's not really, like, anything.
As opposed to, like, Seto's powers, or Kito's, or Momo's, these guys' their powers are fairly vague. Again, we don't exactly know what Saeru's abilities are. Like, we have some, a gist, but, like, he's so OP, like, oh my god.
That's the thing. I think Mary is even more OP for the fact that clearing eyes works on everyone but her, which is the only real threat to him. And then in the manga, it got into the details of like, oh yeah, well, Awakening Eyes isn't like you thought it was. Well, if you change your wish, then, he was able to use Awakening Eyes to make it so that the queen's influence over the snakes doesn't affect him. And that seems really random, because it's like, okay, I thought Awakening Eyes' ability was to change your body, but you're saying, no, his ability allowed me to not have to answer to the queen's pull and answer to her commands. There's a lot of either inconsistencies or just us not having full information, or the snakes have multiple abilities.
Or all three, probably.
Easily.
Jin, babe. Jin, please. But, yeah, what are your thoughts? This is, like, my personal question, I guess. Is, like, what are your thoughts on Ayano and Mary's dynamic in the most recent route in the manga? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that their dynamic was a bit of a long time coming, in a way. I do like it, and I also don't think it's as black and white as some people portray it, because some people looked and they're just like, Ayano, how dare you, whatever. In reality, it's, when you think about the fact this timeline is different from all the others, and she was brought into the family rather than being hidden away from a while, so she grew up not just with Ayano and the kids for a couple months, if not a year, also with Ayaka and Kenjiro, and after everything that went on, Kenjiro and Ayaka died, Ayano and Mary ended up in the haze. I would assume Mary insta-broke out because combining, I don't even know what happened there. That's like, her second death in one timeline. But, and then Ayano having to see the memories. I'm not surprised that she snapped, and I don't think that it was an ill will that she, went after Mary how she did, with the, wanting to kill her and the mental deterioration, but she loves her family more than anything else. And she does consider Mary family, but I think when it comes to her version of a hero, or at least how she personally sees things, she saw kind of like, okay, do I protect Mary and let, Seto, Kido, Kano, everyone else be hurt, or do I take out Mary and the majority be fine? So I think it was a matter of her acting rashly, and it's not that she doesn't care, she doesn't, deep down hate Mary, she does consider Mary family, but it's kind of a matter of, the train track, do you make it go one way to kill one person, or make it go the other way to kill
yeah, the meme, and it's a good question. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, I agree, there was a lot for Ayano to process, and, maybe the seconds that they were in the haze, potentially.
Even then, emotions are overwhelming. People do crazy shit when they're upset or sad or whatever.
It's true. And I'm thinking, there's, I saw a point saying that, wouldn't it be easier for, Ayano to hate Mary if they hadn't grown up together? And just, if Mary was, inducted into the gang much later than, say, them growing up? But I feel like it's not just, a sudden hate, it's, this sort of, getting backstabbed, you know what I mean? she assumed Mary, she always, saw Mary as the very innocent, very kind younger sibling. But to see, I'm pretty sure, it was construed into a sense of betrayal. I'm not exactly sure how that worked,
I think that comes from how Ayano witnessed, Ayaka, and having the talks of Ayaka about Medusas and all of Ayaka's research, and I'm so worried, I think that girl's Medusa, and also, I think these eye abilities are going to hurt your siblings. So, of course, even from a young age, Ayano was terrified of her siblings being hurt. So, even though she wasn't open about it, she was, kind of silently wary around Mary, because it's is she who caused it? Is she why my siblings might get hurt?
Yeah. So it's man, all that relationship, all that, sisterhood that they built up over the years, just, schnup. And it's so sad.
It is sad.
It's so sad. But I'm glad they made up eventually in the manga. I'm thank God. Thank God. I know I tried to kill you and blamed you for everything, but, nothing personal, right? So, would you like to read Rochi's question then?
Okay, in terms of Mary-related story content, we have 3 songs in her perspective and a few manga chapters that focus in on her. We know most of her family background and personality, but there's still a lot of questions about her. The limit of her Medusa abilities, semi-growing up with Seto and his family, granting Centauro and eye power, etc. Do you think how Jin handled the reveal of her overall background and the overall treatment of Mary's role in this story was done well or poorly? Do you also think we need more general info and plot points relating to Mary?
I can't really answer the reveal part because when I went into Kagerou Project, it was kind of already said that, like, oh yeah, she's also related to Azami, like her granddaughter. So I went into Kagerou Project knowing that. I didn't get the surprise of, oh, she's a snake! Well, she has snakes, but you know what I mean. I can imagine, but yeah, I can only imagine. That's it. I came in spoiled with information. I'm like, oh wow, that and that? Shintaro isn't just a normal dude? He's actually the protagonist?
I literally came into the fandom, like, when I looked at it, I thought it was gonna be, like, you know, when I only have, like, really small exposure to, like, is it Bakemonogatari? I kind of came into it assuming Shintaro was gonna be some kind of harem protag. I didn't expect Kozakura was actually gonna be this deep and cool.
Oh my god. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I can see what you mean. Yeah. Thinking about it, like, sometimes I see illustrations of, like, Shintaro and, like, all the girls around him, and I'm like, wow, this looks like a harem, but it really isn't.
They made harem jokes in the novel, and I'm still not over it.
Jin is aware.
He even, like, in his office note was like, oh yeah, you know, I just gave Shintaro some time with the girls so that I could imagine myself in his shoes.
Oh my god, Jin. Jin! I wonder how much Jin sees himself in Shin. Well, I remember, was it Sidu who was like, Shintaro, you're like Shintaro, and he's like, no! So he, like, added more to
like
Shintaro's character. That's funny. I enjoy that. And it's like, no, do not compare me to him. You know what? I'm gonna write him better. I'm gonna add more to him so he's not me.
I'm gonna give him a harem, he's gonna be pimpin', he's gonna get Ayano.
He's gonna get dead multiple times.
But he'll become a better person.
But also he's pimpin', so, you know. Yeah, that's the greatest coochie of them all. Character development. It's true. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. You're not
it's
wrong.
It's true. Growth. But right. Enough about that. Question number 3 is from the Kagerou Pro 24. Did you cry when listening to the end of Gunjo Rain when Mary read the diary and cried? The answer is
yes. I'm a big baby. Listen, I look at Pokemon and if they're cute, I cry. Of course, I cried at that.
Oh my god. To be honest, Gunjo Rain, I've like skimmed through the translation of it, but I don't actually have a comprehensive understanding. All I know is that it's Shion's love for her daughter. So, of course, it's soft for me, but I don't think I have as much of a full understanding. I don't even remember when Mary read.
I think the full basis of it was just a matter of whenever it rains, Mary, you know, doesn't try to go outside. She can't go outside. So Shion's like, yeah, I love rainy days because it means that Mary is going to be with me, and she has to stay with me. And even when she's older, maybe when it rains, she'll stay with me, and I'll always have my little girl.
Aww. Because that means if it's raining and she's inside, that means Mary's safe.
But we know how that went.
I'm sobbing. Shion is so good. She really is. God. She gets it from her dad. It's true. You know, Tsukihiko, Shion, they're like perfect. They're literally perfect. No flaws. The only flaw is that they're dead. But, you know, like, what can you do about that? I don't know. There's no cure for that. At last I checked.
I mean, apparently snakes are a good cure, but it's kind of too late there.
There's some side effects, you know? Trauma. PTSD. Survivor's guilt. But, you know, like, worth, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
The next question comes from Merry Christmas. I was actually thinking about it for a while. I don't really have a good answer for it.
Okay, let's see. In Route 2 of the manga, Mary moves in with Seto as soon as they meet. In the other routes, he seems to almost keep her hidden until years later, since he hasn't even met Ayano. Why do you think that is? Okay, so this was something that I actually thought about for a while. And the thing is, I personally believe the only way you can explain it is timeline deviations, and that's how I always went with it, because there's always anomalies of each timeline. And by that, I mean in every timeline there's a subtle and slight difference that changes its overall outcome. Like, for example, Haruka's means of death, or something even as small as, like, in one canon, you know the fist that was in the headphone actor game that they were giving away as a prize?
Right.
In one canon, it was a coelacanth, and in the other canon, it was an Engler fist.
Oh.
And, like, even something little like that, I don't know if that's an inconsistency or it's just more showing the timeline differences. But, I honestly think it's just a matter of Saeru setting up pieces from the very beginning, trying to get an outcome, and he found out that this was the best one. Because this put Mary in a position where she got attached to people earlier. She had the falling out with Ayano. She was attached to Ayaka and Kenjiro, kind of like new parents, and they died.
Right.
And everything kind of fell into place to where she'd ultimately become what he wanted, which was someone who was so racked with despair that is his perfect master. For some reason, that's, like, his perfect.
Interesting. You know, I never thought about it that way. I honestly wouldn't know how Sarah would be able to control everything from behind the scenes if he's still technically in the haze, though. But
see, that's the thing. I have no idea if it's a matter of Kenjiro was his first master or if he had ones before Kenjiro. Because
right.
he jumps host so quickly in the manga, it almost makes no sense. Because he goes, I don't even know if he had Kenjiro in the beginning. Like, according to him, he was in Hibiya from the beginning. So you have to think, okay, how far back was he in Hibiya? And how was he able to insta-hop from Hibiya to Konoha?
Man. Yeah, you're right.
And, like, the weird thing is, too, like, in every timeline, like, he boasts about how, like, oh yeah, you know, the police are on my side, the school systems are on my side, the government is on my side. It's like,
oh my god.
Like, how does he manage to do that stuff? So he had to have been master hopping, because it's no way that, like, even if it's a matter of Kenjiro, how's Kenjiro going to get the police on his side?
I guess what he means is that potentially what he might have meant is that he could always just hop into the body of, say, well, he could always hop into maybe someone of the government, but he seems to only possess those who have snakes as well, right?
He seems to possess, okay, according to the manga, he possesses anyone who has an easy whisk. Like, for example, he said, and I quote as funny as it was, about Hibiya, that he had an easy whisk, which was just, okay, I want to save Hiyori. And he made a remark about how, like, oh, you know, as easy as that is to take him as a host, even that whisk gives me heartburn. And literally, he's just like, yeah, you know, I eat whisks, that's how I live, but, you know, this one, nah, this whisk sucks.
Well, yeah, I can see that, because he's Saeru, you know, he's a bitch. He's a bastard.
Yeah, he seems to be the only one that isn't tied down to a certain master. Like, every one of them, they were, like, destined at birth or whatever, apparently because they had this perfect whisk to match up. Meanwhile, Saeru seems that he can go to anyone who's ever had a whisk of, I want to protect someone. And that's a large range of people.
That's true. Do you see, like, a lot of... So is that, like, the main consistency that we see here? With people he possess? Like, I want to see someone again, I want to save them, that sort of thing?
Yeah, because with Kenjiro, was he wanted to see Ayaka, or protect Ayaka, so on and so forth, whatever it would be. For Hibiya, it was he wanted to save Hiyori. And for Konoha, in the anime timeline, it was he wanted to protect Hiyori. And in general, from Haruka, it was a matter of he just wanted to be with his friends again.
Right. So
it's
just
always
like...
just a matter of a want to be with people, or just, you know, be able to always be with people, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that is a really easy wish. Because, again, like, there's so many different ways to grant that.
And even then, it even goes as far back as Izami wanted to be with her family. That's the beginning of it.
Yeah, that's so sad! What the heck? I know, I'm sorry. I'm like, okay, I feel so bad for Izami. I'm like, girl, she just wanted to be with her family. That's it. That's literally it. She just wanted to be with her familia.
It's just a terrible, like, loophole, too, for the fact of, like, oh yeah, you know, your wish was to be with your family, know who you are. So he has a lot to work with, but it's like, let's just leave Shion with you. But that wish is never going to be completely fulfilled because Tsukihiko is dead and I sent Mary back. So at least you can, look at Shion over there.
I know. He's like a bastard genie. That's really what he is.
Yeah, easily he's a bastard genie.
Konoha, bastard genie. That's his title now. It'd just be like that.
I love him.
I know.
He's a wonderful boy.
He's such a bastard, but he's like our bastard. So it works out. Don't you think how come, I guess it's probably because he's like a sadist, but like I feel like there's a lot of ways to get married to reset the timeline and therefore elongate his existence. But he always like resorts to these horrible ways, at least from what we've seen, to like pretty much push Mary to her limit. But I feel like, I guess if Saeru wasn't a horrible person, there would be like plenty of other less horrific ways to potentially get her to reset.
I was gonna say, just look at his relationship with Kenshiro. He's a manipulator at heart. If he wanted to go that route.
It's true. I mean, if he really wants to, like, live as long as he could essentially, like, milk a very long human lifetime. Just, like, wait for the Mecha Dan to, like, die out naturally and let Mary just be alone forever and maybe take that to his advantage than to, like, I don't know, wait 14 years or something and then all of a sudden kill them off. It just seems like kind of counterproductive, you know what I mean?
And see, that's the thing too. Like, I know one of the things I've always thought about is the fact that apparently it was confirmed that the anime timeline is middle road. So that means that happy ending, everybody grew old and then C reset. Like, unless, like, Clearing Eyes got control of Hiyori and was able to manipulate her too. C just, of her own accord, was like, yep, I'm gonna reset the timeline because everyone's dead and I'm alone. So, that's something. But, I see what you mean about, Saeru and it being counterproductive. It also doesn't make sense to me, but I think it's mostly just a big thing about him being arrogant, because he's extremely arrogant. And
it's true.
The 8th novel, like, it came out early in Canada, and I have a couple Canadian friends.
Yeah.
And they were showing me some of the, like, pages from the book, and graphic warning, but when he was ripping, like, basically Mary apart, ripped off her arm and everything, it literally said that he had a look of pure ecstasy. And it's like, it got really deep and gross into how sadistic he is. So I think it just comes down to him being arrogant and him, like, just, being that one jerk anime villain who likes to lick tears off of someone's face. He's gross. He's gross.
I remember seeing, comparisons of, like, how he may have, like, it's confirmed that Azami is, like, the beginning of pretty much everything, right? She's essentially God.
Yes.
And I guess if Saeru was one of her snakes, he would essentially in this religious metaphor be, again, like a fallen angel or Lucifer who turns against her.
Yeah.
But I've also seen, like, some comparisons where, like, maybe Azami wasn't the only one from the very beginning. Saeru might have also been there. So, I don't know. Lots of theories.
There's definitely a lot of different ways it can go. I know it's definitely, like, interesting because one of the, Izami always said she could never sleep. Like, ever since her beginning, she could never sleep. And I remember it was a problem when it came to Tsukihiko. Because, Tsukihiko would want her to come to bed with him, and she wouldn't because, she can't sleep. So what's the point of her laying in bed with him staring at the ceiling while he sleeps? So, and then eventually, out of nowhere, she just one day fell asleep, and that's when she first met Saeru. And I have always found that weird and hasn't had, like, an explanation.
I'm calling Jin being Jin, honestly, but maybe it'll be answered later, because he's been revisiting stuff. It's gonna be great. I have faith in our homeboy, maybe. Maybe.
I mean, apparently the new anime isn't even focused on the main Dan. It's apparently going to be focused on Shintaro's student. According to the tweet, it is translated to the new heroes are Shintaro students. So...
Jin.
And he got really deep into the meta of how he wants to tell the story of the Mekakushi Dan as adults, because I've always looked at it from, like, a children or a young adult perspective, but I want to go from an adult perspective. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna have, like, at least, like, high school Habia and Hiyori kind of aides here, and then all the others in their 20s.
I mean, I like the idea of the Mecha-dan that's, like, adults and seeing how they progress, but, like, Jin! You just started to get
really deep into it.
Yeah, like, he was in shallow, all these characters are so shallow, and then Jin finally, like, takes a dive and goes deep into Mary and Ayano, and we're like, wow, this is the potential. This is how deep we could go with the rest of the Dan. We can do it. And then he, like, dries up the ocean, essentially, and starts afresh. Like, babe,
like,
Jin.
If this is going to be, like, the Naruto reboot, like... I honestly fear, but more than that, I'm like, is Saeru still going to be the villain, or are we going to get Saeru's long-lost brother,
Dio.
Dio!
Oh my god.
I'm so ready for him.
Saeru Jr.
Here comes the next new villain. It's Dark Mary from the Mirror World.
Oh my god. Imagine, it's probably gonna be like, if anything, Saeru's gonna be... He's still gonna be around with his new design that isn't Konoha based.
Oh my god, I love its new design. I love Neo Saeru.
I haven't seen a close enough look. Every time I look at it, it's like an illustration that's so black I can't make out what's part of his background and what's part of the background or what's part of his outfit, but you know, I'll figure it out someday.
I've seen a lot, but also here, I made this if it helps you.
Wow, look at those bangs. Oh my god.
I know, and he has a braid. His hair is so long.
Oh my goodness. What a design. Okay. Okay, I guess I can get down with that. Alright.
Not to mention, I think he turned, like, the Konoha headphones into, like, mechanical horns, and it's like that Lucifer reference, you're totally not making it vague.
Oh my goodness. He's so edgy, oh my god.
He's extremely edgy.
He's so
I
extra.
appreciate the scales all over him.
True. Do you think he's constantly shedding? He's just a sheddy boy.
Oh god. That...
He sheds constantly. He tries to run, but he leaves a trail.
I hope he's not able to shed and he goes blind and everybody's saved.
Thank God. But I'm thinking, like, I don't think he ever looked into JoJo, but for the first 3 parts, you see, like, 3 generations of Joestars fighting the same villain. So,
yeah,
I'm thinking this might be the same case where the next future of kids deal with, like, so you're the guy who killed Grandpa. Oh, shit. You know, like, that kind of... Like, this is for my granddad! Or, dude, that's the guy who, like, cucked your mom. Like, oh, fuck.
Cucked your mom?
I'm thinking, like, Takane and, like, Haruka. You know, that whole situation. Like, you know, like...
Yeah.
Or, like, aw, kids, you see that? That's the guy who possessed your granddad and, nearly killed everyone under the guise of your grandfather. So, like... Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we know how far into adults they're going to be. I'm going to assume mid-20s, and that's why they're going with Sentaro's students. But, you know, I for one am all for 6-year-olds kicking Sarah's ass.
That's true. Okay, then I can see, like, familial stuff, but you're right. They probably aren't actually going to be their kids now that I think about it. You're right.
Listen, I hope it's familial because, like, look at how Kenjiro was with Takane and Haruka. That was the cutest shit.
It was.
Like, he literally thought of them like his own kids, and, like, just seeing him integrated into the Yuki Quartet at times, and, like, you know, the scene with the snowball.
He's a good dad!
So he is the best dad. Why did you have to ruin it, Saeru? Listen, that's another thing that I don't understand. Did you know apparently the proper pronunciation is Saeru? And I keep wanting to say Saeru, and it bugs me a lot.
That does bug me. I like Saeru sounds so much cooler than Saeru.
Saeru sounds so ugly.
I know, it's like Siren. Oh well, it's okay, we're the Western fandom, no one cares about us anyway, we can do what we want.
Hell yeah.
No one's gonna pay attention. Not even Jin, it's fine. What if I just did a live stream where I say, like, Jin 1,000,000 times, and then, like, he'll finally, like, maybe glance in our direction once, and then look away for the next 1,000 years? It'd be worth.
saying Jin for 24 hours straight for charity. JK, not actually charity, just notice me, Jin.
Please, Jin, I would die for you. I would give him my firstborn.
To give you an idea of, like, how much I think the Western fandom isn't cared about, did you know that not only is there, like, typos, but there's also grammar mistakes in the new novel?
Really?
Like, they literally typed out some of Iani's sentences, like, it would start out, like, normal, and then after the punctuation, it would all be lowercase.
I thought those were, like, professionally translated. Oh my gosh.
Apparently. Like, there was also a line that was, like, his voice was like the sound of a snake licking its lips. First of all, a snake can't lick its lips. Second of all, how's a voice like that?
It's like uncomfortable. It's like
I'd be terrified if someone talked like that.
Maybe that was the point. That's what Jin wanted. My god. I can see it now, or I can hear it now, rather. It really be like that.
Oh god. I like the snakes marginally less if they sound like that.
But I'm sorry, earlier, did you say Ini?
Yes.
Kitsu.
Listen.
Do you pronounce memes as Mimi too?
No!
Kitsu!
No. But I have pronounced the Pokemon like Raikou is Raikau.
Oh.
Pronunciations are not my strong suit.
That's valid. I'm just like, every time you say like Ini or something, I think of like grandma saying Mimi. Like, is that a Mimi? It's valid. Is that a Mei? That's probably... Do you think Mary would be down with memes? Do you think Mary would understand, or would she have, like, the humor of an 11th century Medusa trapped in classic literature for years?
Hands down, once she learns about them, Mary likes the 2012 memes, unironically. Like, the ones that are just a picture and then big white text over it. Yeah.
I can see it! And, like, the wholesome memes, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the wholesome, I don't know how to describe them. Like, they're cringy, but they don't have anything internally cursed. Does that make any sense?
Seto would get her into the I can have cheeseburger cats.
That's true! Oh my god. Or just like the awkward animals one, where they look cute and then they like have little weird grammatical words where it's like baby talk out of animals. I can't describe this well enough.
So you would find that cute.
Those memes. I can't believe Seto and Mary send each other uwus and owos unironically.
Oh my god, yes.
It's true.
They have to.
It's true. Do you think they send each other like ASCII sort of text, like the little bunnies and everything that people make out of parentheses and slashes? It's so incredible.
Yeah. The cow emoji or KO emoji, however it's pronounced, yeah, definitely. I know that, like, I think I could see Mary doing that and Haruka doing that. They're soft enough, too.
Soft boys. I guess maybe Seto wouldn't normally, but with Mary, maybe.
Maybe, just to make her happy.
What are your thoughts on Seto Mary? The most popular ship for Mary?
Okay, I personally, it's not my OTP, but it's also not like, oh yeah, that wouldn't work. The only thing that I do have to say about it is in Talkers and a couple other metas, it gets really big into, like, brother zoning him. Like, there was literally a Talkers about how, like, oh yeah, you and Shintaro and Kano have to pretend to be my big brothers now because I'm jealous because Momo has a big brother. Or there was the Talkers about how Seto got really upset about the manga that Ayano and Mary were reading because the main character apparently, like, he likened himself to the best friend to the heroine who apparently betrayed him, and he got mad about it, and he made a remark about, like, oh, I wonder who Mary would choose, and she completely clammed up. It's not a bad ship, it's just kinda... He seems to get a little bit overbearing, especially in the novel. Like, literally, we joke that he went yandere in the 8th novel, because everybody died, and he was like, that's okay. It's okay if they're dead. I have Mary. Mary's all that I need. And Mary was literally just like, okay, you're crazy. Please give me space.
Yeah, when you lose everyone you love, you tend to cling. At least, that's how I would react. But I understand what you mean.
The thing is, too, though, I'm pretty sure, like, I haven't read it in full yet, but from what I've seen from fan translations and summaries, he was aware, like, in that situation that C could reset the timeline, and he didn't want her to. He wanted to be with her, just her. Like, she could have reset it and brought everyone back, but it didn't seem like he wanted her to for some reason. So that's why we joke, like, oh my god, did he just go yonder trope? Which seems really off the wall for Seto, but who knows what's going on.
Interesting. Now I have to ask, what are your thoughts on Kono Mary?
It's aesthetic. It's soft. Love.
You know, it really is. It really is. And I read your URL for, your Twitter handle. I was like, that's soft. That's
it's
soft.
Very soft.
It's like marshmallows, brother. The show, like, made this, like, in Japan, they're usually, like, the ship itself is, like, described as, like, strawberry or, like, sakura mochi, something like that.
Oh, that sounds cute.
Because it's, like, soft and sweet, something like that. It's so cute! It's pure. And you know what? I get it. I really do. You've opened my eyes to a new dimension. I'm woke now.
Not to mention, like, the height difference is cute, too, because he's a tall boy and she's a very small.
That's fair. That's so fair. To be honest, I could never really get into height differences for ships. I didn't understand it. But, you know, with Kono Mary, I can see it. I can see it. It makes... The clouds have parted. The sea itself has parted.
I'm glad your eyes were open.
Kono Mary has, like, awoken me, brother. I'm a changed person, thanks to Kono Mary. Kono Mary saved my life.
It's actually really cute for the fact that, like, I've made a lot of friends coming into the fandom, and a lot of them, like, literally have told me and Kita, like, you know, I ship Kono Mary. And, like, just yesterday, one of our friends, just out of the blue, just came to us and we had, like, 3 notifications. They're just like, hey, crazy idea, but I drew art not only of Kono Mary, but of, like, Haruka and Mary. And they keep on, like, drawing ship art of Adam. It's like, what have we done?
Ship everyone with Mary. It's the only way.
It's the only way.
Have you heard of... There was a ship for, like, Kano Mary. What are your thoughts on that?
I have seen that, and I've seen a lot of art of it, and it has potential to be cute. Like, I haven't seen too much of it, but I've had, like, Kano our peers actually talk to me, be like, hey, would you ship this? Like, or I want to explore this ship, and it's like, I understand it, but it's also, like, interesting. Like, it would be definitely one of those odd dynamics, just for the fact of, well, you see how much they kind of, quote-unquote, fight. I'm gonna say quote-unquote fight, but it's more so just childish arguments.
Yeah. I think it'd be... Yeah, I never really looked into it, but it does have potential to be cute.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of, like, I guess Momo Mary? I think that'd be, like... That'd be
Momo
cute.
and Mary would be adorable.
I know!
Like, I think that Momo and Mary's relationship and friendship is often overlooked, but they're so sweet. Like, she ends up clinging to Momo almost as much as she does Seto.
I know, that's so good, because Momo gets to be the older sister this time.
Yeah,
I'm soft.
Adorable.
I'm warm.
I'm soft for it, too.
My heart is warm. My arteries are warmer. It's great. It's great. I should stop with my analogies. They're so bad. I'm full of chicken strip and fry. I am complete.
I stan you.
But yeah, I think we covered all the questions for Mary. What was I gonna say? Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I thought chicken strips and then it all, like, faded away into black. Like, it disappeared into the void, brother. We're gonna watch In a Daze in my server for a movie night soon, and it's gonna be great, and I'll see Mary's cute new dress that I've been wanting to see for so long.
We watched it, like, months ago on Facebook when it didn't have subs, so we went in not knowing anything or understanding anything, we just wanted to see how it was.
Yeah. So... Do you remember? All I remember from it is the Hibiya dab. That's literally it. That's all I remember.
All that I remember is Konoha eating Shintaro over a railway.
Thank God. I mean, what? I mean, oh man, that's...
I hope Shintaro's okay.
Ah, shit. Sure would suck if he happened to perish. I don't think I can do a Shintaro episode. I'm so anti-Shintaro. I would, like, offend 80% of the fandom. I can't do that. I can't. But maybe I will, out of spite. I'll just do it.
Spite.
But I'll have, like, a Shin stand next to me so that they can balance out my salt.
One of the questions is like, hey, I'm not a Shintaro stan. Convince me to love him.
I mean, I can see why people love him, though, you know? Like, growth. But, like, he's a smelly boy, too, so, like, I don't know. But, yeah, Kitsu, thank you very much for joining me on this episode, even though we kind of just, like, rambled about chicken for a good while. You know, it was a good time. It was a good time.